Hey, hey, hey! Let's talk about 2004 music. Um, we'll start where we started in 2014 with the butt rock songs that didn't quite make it onto the Hot 100 year end thing. Um, First one we'll go with is Papa Roach, Getting Away with Murder. I didn't realize I knew that song until I listened to it. I thought the only Papa Roach I knew was the Cut My Life Into Pieces. We listened to that album a lot, but I didn't realize I knew more of their stuff. That Getting Away with Murder song's pretty good. Chevelle, obviously, was pretty new then. Dashboard Confessional, I never really got into too much. AFI was the biggest that they probably could be at that point. They were just then changing from the fast punk rock sound to more of an emo sound, so they kind of crossed my path at the right time. I listened to quite a few songs on download. Before streaming, there was download, so I didn't really listen to albums at that time very much. I would listen to just whatever I could download. I'd hear about a new band and I would just download as many random songs as I could. So if a band already had a few albums out, they all just mixed together to me. I didn't understand albums at that time. You also had bands like Shinedown and Crossfade and 3 Days Grace, and Breaking Benjamin had that song So Cold, which for the time I really liked that one. I listen to that stuff back now, and it all just kind of has that same structured guitar sound and processed guitar sound and vocals and drums, and it all just sounds the same. One that didn't sound the same was Slipknot with Duality, when they started moving into more of a hard rock radio direction, butt rock direction. One band that a lot of people will put in the butt rock category that I really, really, really liked, I bonded with a couple of friends over, was a band called Thornley, which really, I think Thornley only had one album, and it wasn't as good as the stuff that he does with Big Wreck, but it was Ian Thornley kind of on his own, and that was a great album. The Cure were even trying to go kind of butt rock territory. They had Ross Robinson, producer for Korn and Slipknot and all those guys, do their album that year, and it was interesting. It was The Cure by way of Ross Robinson. It was exactly what it was cracked up to be. You had a band called The Hives, which I've tried to get into a few times. I always got The Hives and The Vines confused. I don't know if they came out at the same time. I know they're completely different. I've seen their image is completely different and their music is completely different. But in the scope of things, they're the same band to me. Muse was just then getting on my radar. They had the song Hysteria and one I really like called Time's Running Out. I'm not sure what album that was off of, or what the big singles off of that were, because once again, when I downloaded a bunch of Muse, I just got stuff off of random albums, and I only know they only had a few up to that point, but yeah, I learned to love them a lot more in the coming years. You had the song from Seether with Amy Lee on called Broken, which I like that song a whole lot more now than I did back then. I don't want to be anything other than what I'm trying to be lately. Gavin DeGraw, I don't want to be. I love that song. We did that in the band for a long time, and I pushed to keep it even when we had more popular songs and bigger songs. I just always loved rocking that song out. So good. Sia had Breathe Me, which is a song I've done acoustic forever. That song just moves me so much. It was one of the first, not the first I ever heard of Sia, because she did a lot of stuff with 07, but that was the first solo stuff I think that I ever heard. I didn't realize it went back that far. John Mayer's Daughters, I'm surprised that wasn't a bigger song than it was. Fountains of Wayne, Stacy's Mom. Great song. It's hard to listen to that album. I listened to there was 2 Fountains of Wayne albums that were pretty good, and that was on one of them. I love the song as a single. In the scope of the album, when I'm in the mode to hear that album, I have to skip it because it just doesn't, I don't think it fits the vibe of the, it's not a story album, it's not a concept album, but like the vibe of all the songs together, that one just stands out to me. But as a single, I love it, and as a live pop song, I love to play it too. Jimmy Eat World kind of was crossing over from the emo world into more pop territory. They had their biggest song that year. Ocean Boulevard. I guess now we're into more of the emo pop punk type of stuff. My Chemical Romance came on my radar. It was really their second album, but 3 Cheers and the song I'm Not Okay, and then later Helena kind of blew me away at the time. I wasn't ready for that stuff to be that good, and then what they did later on, they became one of my favorite, at least top 3 favorite bands of 2000s. You had Franz Ferdinand's Take Me Out. I thought was a great pop rock song. We used to cover that one. It's so much fun to play. See, so many bands still in 2004. So many bands still left. Float On by Modest Mouse. Not the hugest fan. I hate that guy's squawky voice. I think it's just terrible. Ironically, I thought Take Me Out and Float On, I got confused because they were both on the radio at the same time, and they both have kind of a do type of riff in the guitar, and Take Me Out just won out to me. It was just better. I think his playing's better. The groove is just punches you in the face all the way through that song. Float On, I could leave it. I don't hate it as much now as I did back then, but Cake had a new album. The song was called No Phone. I could take it or leave it. There was some other stuff on that album that was really good. It stood out to me. I think Friend is a 4-letter word was on there. U2, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb with the song Vertigo. And there's a couple other songs on there that I like way better. But a good hard rock song. Only U2 could get a song like that on the radio, and only in 2004. I think all that's all gone now. Green Day's American Idiot. I was surprised how much I appreciated that album when it came out. There was a lot of good songs, and then eventually Boulevard of Broken Dreams just went through the roof. That's probably their biggest song, I would say. When September Ends and the song American Idiot, just top notch. Another one that I listen to more than that kind of shit though is Sum 41, and I really appreciated their earlier stuff. When their new album, that Chuck album came out, the We're All to Blame song just beat me over the head, and I just loved it. It had all of the mellow stuff that they do. They just have a certain way of going from that sweet, not sweet, but like. So I'll just listen to the song. You'll know what I'm talking about. And it kicks in, and you listen to the whole album. There's some songs on there. There's some real homages to Metallica. You could tell how much they love Metallica on this album. So good. So good. I listened to the shit out of that album. Actually, I need to go back and listen to that one again. I forgot about that. And there was also Blink-182's self-titled album with I Miss You and Feeling This, and my God, I couldn't believe how much a band that was that silly and fun could mature. They could mature but still have that goofy edge, I guess. Yeah, my 3 emo albums probably ever and of that year were the My Chemical Romance, the Sum 41 Chuck, and the Blink-182 album. You also had Incubus, who were already one of my favorite bands. At that time, the new album, A Crow Left at the Murder, didn't grab me as much as some of their older stuff. It ended up growing on me, and some of their better songs are on this album. Here in My Room and Sick Sad Little World and Pistola. Like, the instrumentation is still top notch, as close to prog as you can get without getting pretentious. They're still rocking out and still doing amazing ballads like Southern Girl and Talk Shows on Mute. Another album that year was Emotive by A Perfect Circle, which I didn't like as much because it was mostly covers and remixes, and a lot of it ended up growing on me over time. Some of the remixes I like better than the original songs that they came from. And the Imagine cover that they do, what they do to that song is just unbelievable. Like, they make it real tension-filled and dark, and it's oh man, it's just beautiful. Hip-hop wise, you had Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Jay-Z and Linkin Park did that album of mashups, self-mashups, that I listened to it. It wasn't my favorite. Eminem had a double dose of, he kind of came back with Just Lose It. Kind of doing more of a silly thing that he originally was known for, and also had a big hit with My Band with D12, and Back then, I think I liked Eminem doing the serious stuff more. So neither one of those really resonated with me. But now, I think my band is probably the better one out of that. It's more hooky, and it's kind of funny that he's making fun of his band while he's doing a song with his band. You had Gwen Stefani doing her first solo album. She had a few hits. What was it called? The Sweet Escape, I think. Is that what it's called? And What You Waiting For. 2004 was also apparently the year that the Cha Cha Slide was released. And I don't know. I don't go to enough weddings to actually hear that very often, fortunately. But I don't know the difference between all of those stupid wedding line dance songs, but I think it's terrible anyway. 2004 was also kind of a hangover of a lot of 90s female artists were still hanging on, or either having big hits or having minor hits, or just kind of hanging on. Britney Spears, Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson, Hilary Duff, Natasha Bedingfield, Kylie Minogue, Beyonce, J-Lo, Alicia Keys, Keyless, Dido, Nelly Furtado, Atomic Kitten, Avril Lavigne, Alanis Morissette, Shania Twain, Gwen Stefani, and Joss Stone all popped up on lists that I was looking at for songs for that year. And surprisingly, there's very little EDM yet in production of that time. I think that was right when it was starting to come up. There wasn't a lot of hits yet that had anything that was kind of techno-y or electronic. I mean, obviously it's all electronic, but all the dance stuff was more of a like a chicken taka chicken taka chicken taka. It's like I think of it as like kind of a more of a Ace of Base kind of groove, and which is funny because it had been 10 years since Ace of Base had hits, really. Kind of a dance hall, a lot of crunk type of stuff, but a lot of rock. A lot of these artists were like moving into a lot of rock. I kind of equated to the way that a lot of the hair bands, a lot of people think that they did a lot of that stuff because of grunge, trying to fit in with all the grunge stuff, but I think a lot of that stuff was just natural after you get used to being pop and overblown. Like, I mean, every pop singer does their, I mean, Lady Gaga did it, and Katy Perry's done it, and she's kind of more real about it, but they all have to go into their earthy look. I can really play an instrument and write songs, and I'm not just a Pop-Tart dancing around on stage phase. So that's, I think, what was happening with a lot of these people when they were trying to do that kind of thing. But let's talk about cover songs that year, because 2004, when I started looking into it, it was just a lot of cover songs. Obviously, Gwen Stefani had a cover with It's My Life. It was a Talk song. It should pop up in my 1984 video because that was the year that it came out, ironically. It kind of fits with my bingo card thing, where if you hear something in multiple times in different videos, we'll see if we can get some kind of game going. But It's My Life by Gwen Stefani. Britney Spears did My Prerogative. which was originally a Bobby McFerrin, or not Bobby McFerrin, Bobby Brown song. Foo Fighters covered Darling Nikki that year, and probably a bunch of other stuff. I haven't looked at the dates on all of those cool Foo Fighters songs, but I know Darling Nikki was for sure. Somebody covered Angels by Robbie, what was that guy's name? Big British artist, Robbie Williams. A lot of them are generic dance. They almost sound like karaoke versions of this song, so I didn't even write down the artists if they weren't significant. But in Angels, somebody did Take My Breath Away by Berlin. Somebody did California Dreamin' for some reason. Did a weird electronic poppy version of California Dreamin'. You had Car Wash, which I think was who was it that did that one? Car Wash was God, I'm stupid. Can't remember anything. It's like taking a test when I learn about stuff and then I write it all down and then I expect myself to remember what I learned to put it to the next step, and a lot of it just goes away if it's generic. Missy Elliott, that's who did Car Wash. With somebody else, it was a duet. I can't remember who the other person was. Anyway, 1985 by Bowling for Soup. Did you know that was a cover? Yeah, that was a cover from an old cowpunk kind of band called SR-71. I did not know that for years and years and years. But yeah, 311 covered The Cure's Love Song that year, which they did such a note for note perfect job of it that it's just like, what's the point? I can't even tell. I have to pay attention close to tell the difference when I hear one or the other. Call on Me by Eric Prada, I think. It was more of a sample from a song called Valerie by Stevie Winwood. And there's a crazy story about it. I saw a video about the making of that song, and it's not just it's just not just a sample of the original song. There's a whole convoluted thing that song went through. You should go and look it up. But I like that Call on Me song, and the video is we'll just say it's a lot of fun to watch. Also, 2004, Korn covered Word Up, which I'd see these local hard rock bands covering that song, and I was confused at first to why all these bands were covering a Cameo song from the 80s, and I found out that Korn had done it, so that's what, and it's probably one of the only songs that Korn does that a normal band could cover, especially in 2004. You used to do an Enter Sandman and bullshit like that on stage. Korn was not a band. Korn and Rage Against the Machine. That's why everybody does Killing Is the Name. Is because it's the only song that most guitar players can play from them. And it's kind of cheesy. But the song's great. Word Up. They kind of amped it up and made it their own. Kind of sounds like them. You play Got the Life and Word Up back to back, and especially like some of their later hits. That was kind of a what do you call it? Crossroads for them. They kind of went off in that direction a little more. Limp Bizkit did Behind Blue Eyes by The Who, which, well, I could take it or leave it. Back then, it was like, I thought it was the dumbest shit ever. They don't even do the end part. They don't amp it up like they did. I thought it was a dumb version, a dumb cover. Pointless. Sheryl Crow did First Cut Is the Deepest, and that one actually is on the chart, but I didn't realize, I found out a couple of years later that that song was actually a Rod Stewart song. And then I found out even more recently that it's not even a Rod Stewart song, it's a Cat Stevens song. So there you go, First Cut Is the Deepest goes on the cover list. Somebody did a cover of Mad World that's not the Donnie Darko version or the Tears for Fears version. Not sure why somebody thought that that was necessary. Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. Really, you're doing old Motown stuff in the modern electronic poppy style? No, thank you. Somebody redid the early 80s song Break My Stride. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't nothing gonna hold me down. Oh no. Oh, I hate that song. What an earworm. I know. And cover of it is absolutely unnecessary. The cover from 2004 is more dated than the original from 1980 or whenever it was, 80, 79, 80. There's a song called This Is the World We Live In, and it confused me for a second because I was like, hold on, I recognize that melody. This is the world we live in. Oh my goodness, it's an interpolation of Land of Confusion by Genesis. Not even significant enough to even for me to even write down who the artist was. I thought that was totally unnecessary. Oh, I don't want to make this too long, so I might just do the countdown in another video. But the last thing I want to talk about is debuts that year. Bands or albums. No, yeah, debut albums by bands is what I meant to say. And you had Velvet Revolver and Audioslave, two basically bands, superstar bands getting superstar singers. And they were basically, no, that's not really true with Audioslave. Yeah, you had a lot of mixing up. Velvet Revolver, I thought was great right out of the gate. I thought Scott Weiland really fit that style, and I heard some bootlegs and him doing some of the Guns N' Roses stuff. It's So Easy and songs like that. It just fit in perfect, perfect blend. And Audioslave the same way. The first song I heard was Cochise, and I thought, yeah, that is definitely Rage. That is Rage Against the Machine. That's Rage Against the Machine. That's Rage Against the Machine. And then as soon as he started singing over that riff, I thought, holy crap, that's Soundgarden. That riff totally could be a Soundgarden riff. And never in my life would I have ever thought any of the Rage songs or Soundgarden songs could be interchangeable. But what they did on that first record, especially that first record, is just beautiful. From heavy stuff called Set It Off and Cochise to the ballads like a Stone and I Am the Highway. I Am the Highway is still one of my go-to songs to play acoustic. what a great album. The quality kind of diminished in the albums after that, but that first one is just phenomenal. Other debuts that year, Killers came out. I got to see the Killers at a small club right as they were blowing up. Somebody told me was on the radio, and Mr. Brightside, I think, had just gotten released and it hadn't quite blown up yet, but they kind of became the voice, the sound of the 2000s. That the Strokes came out a few albums or a few years earlier, and between the two of those, they were the sound of the 90s or the 2000s, and especially 2004, which it's weird to look at because I'm not sure why it happened to the Killers and not Franz Ferdinand. Maybe they just didn't have as many other songs as good as their first one, but I don't think there's many Killer songs that are as good as Mr. Brightside, so I don't know. It's weird. It's how it's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes the public just decides weird things. The Darkness came out that year. Or maybe it was the year earlier, but that was the year that it got big. Kind of brought back a little bit of that bombast of the 80s that people had been shunning through all of the grunge and post-grunge. Him doing his falsetto thing, everybody just loved singing that in the bars. They'd play that. I heard that every time I was in a bar for years after that. Somebody wanted to sing that Darkness song. Alter Bridge debuted that year, which I didn't realize how cool Miles Kennedy was at the time, and he's kind of settled into butt rock territory. Alter Bridge is better than Creed, is all I could say about it. I'd rather hear it than Creed. Obviously, that first solo, Gwen Stefani, debuted that year. Maroon 5 debuted that year. After I talk about all these other songs and all these other bands, it just, Maroon 5 just seems like, I mean, maybe it's because they were so ubiquitous for the next 15 years after that, but it just seems like Maroon 5 was around longer than that. Kanye West's debut was that year, The College Dropout. It's whatever. I have to admit that I thought it was kind of groundbreaking at the time. But yeah, fuck Kanye. The Yeah Yeah Yeahs came out that year with their song Maps. And I read it wrong. Speaking of Maroon 5, and then now the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I read Maps. I've got a correction to make because I read Maps in the other script, and I went off on my tangent telling my story about Karen O crying during the video shoot and all that stuff, and I didn't realize that Maps was the Maroon 5 Maps. So scratch everything I said about the Yeah Yeah Yeahs in the 2014 video, and I meant Maroon 5 Maps. This is the Maps for 2004. And something I didn't know until recently, that I was talking about all of the female artists going more rock. The song Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson was actually written by Max Martin as kind of an homage to Yeah Yeah Yeah's Maps. He kind of heard that song and said, yeah, well, what would happen if we made that a little more poppy and yada yada yada, and bada bing bada boom. And I think they actually sued him for that. There's some parts that are just exactly spot on when you hear it. The vibes of the songs are so different that you wouldn't hear it unless you were looking for it. But yeah, basically could be the same song. I'm trying to figure out a way to mash them up. And then unfortunately the last band I wanted to mention was Jet. And remember how much potential we had for Jet when they first came out. There was 3 or 4 songs that were just so killer. They kind of sounded like not even the Beatles. They sounded like Wings on their ballady stuff, and they kind of sounded like AC/DC. I mean, I think they're from Australia, so obviously AC/DC is probably a big, huge influence on them. But just in the years since, just realized how kind of contrived and lame that band was. But anyway, I don't want this to get too long. I'll do the Hot 100 from 2004 in another video. Just wanted to knock out another video since it's kind of scorching out there. I didn't want to get out there and mow or do anything, so I thought I better be productive and knock out a video. So hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know anything you want me to talk about, or if any of these songs triggered you, good or bad. Do all the things, yada yada yada. I'll get back with you later.